A decision by the Ninth U.S. District Court of Appeals this week ruled that President Trump's proposal to strip funding from so-called sanctuary cities was unconstitutional. The decision did not affect the national policy and sent the decision back to a lower court for further fact-finding. David, you were one of our two esteemed attorneys at the table today. What do we need to know about this decision that we haven't seen already?
Okay, well, so the district court, Santa Clara County and San Francisco County sued. The district court issued a national injunction against the Trump executive order. The Ninth Circuit, on appeal, constricted that and said, now all the evidence in this case that you presented has been about California, so this injunction only applies to California against enforcement of the executive order, but we'll now send it back to the district court and maybe they'll come up with evidence to justify a national injunction. The law here is very clear, and really both sides agreed on it. Congress alone has the spending power. That's from the text of the Constitution. The president has no power to say, I won't spend money that Congress has appropriated, including money for grants to states or local governments. Congress has enacted a specific law that says, President, you should withhold money for 3 specific criminal justice assistance programs to sanctuary cities. So Judge Ferdinand Fernandez, the dissenter in this 2-1 Ninth Circuit decision, said you can just read the executive order as saying we're going to take enforcement of these congressional mandates not to give certain funds to sanctuary cities, and that's all we're doing here. The majority says, well, that's a little too narrow an interpretation because, first of all, Trump makes all these grandiose but vague statements. And then the Department of Justice lawyers have to say, look, whatever expansiveness he said with no detail in it, the only detail we're standing for is we're just going to obey the congressional law not to give these 3 grants to sanctuary cities. But the majority says, look at the whole thing in context. Why do you even issue the executive order then? Maybe it's like Seinfeld, it's an order about nothing. And there was at least one case of congressional testimony by an administration official that took a slightly broader interpretation of withholding grants than the law would currently allow. So that was the basis for the 2-1 majority affirming the injunction.
Eric, I would not lean on you for further legal analysis. You're not one of our esteemed attorneys. But Denver Mayor Michael Hancock came out and hailed the decision. Is he counting his chickens a little too early?
Hancock has a very liberal, we're talking about, Hancock is the mayor of the city and county of Denver, a very liberal city. He's looking at a re-election here 9-10 months down the road, and he's trying to reinforce that liberal base. So no, I think it is a fairly cost-free criticism for Michael Hancock to issue. I'm sitting here between 2 lawyers, and David already laid it out in detail, and I suspect Craig will go there as well. I will not go there. As critical as I am of the Trump administration immigration policy, of a lot of the nonsense and humanitarian disaster that's gone on the border, I do still worry and look somewhat askance at the whole sanctuary city movement. I think the logical extension of sanctuary cities, goes back to pre-Civil War. It's the whole idea of nullification, and some parts of the country or some jurisdictions of the country are not going to enforce certain federal laws. So I think it is a road you walk down carefully and with some trepidation. In this polarized time we're living in, obviously concerns like that are quickly dismissed, and you're either part of the Trump movement or you're part of the quote-unquote resistance, and there is no room for any subtlety. But I do think this issue requires some subtlety. It should be possible to be anti-Trump on immigration and yet not necessarily go to sanctuary cities as your alternative.
Craig, you are our other esteemed attorney at the table, so what do our viewers need to know about this that we don't already know?
Well, David Kopel is much more an expert. He read the decision and analyzed it for me, but I think Eric illustrates the politics of it. Sanctuary City even resonates with him and a lot of independent voters. So I think there's a big issue for Walker Stapleton. Donald Trump is going to use this for the midterms. He may even shut down the Congress, and Walker may as well get on that Trump train or he'll get run over. He doesn't have to embrace the character flaws, and who knows what Mueller will do by then, but this is the Republican winning ticket according to the White House, and it's going to affect everything in the midterms.
Patty, wrap it up for us. What do you think about this issue that's only going to grow as we get closer to the election?
Well, I would say Stapleton's pretty much on the Trump train right now. We don't have to have him worry about getting run over by it. We're just not sure exactly where that Trump train is going to take everyone in November. It's interesting because back when the whole sanctuary city issue first came up, you can remember that Hancock was kind of waffling. We were a welcoming city. We weren't a sanctuary city. Now I think we pretty much accepted we're going to be a sanctuary city. You see the fights we have about that ICE agents should not be apprehending people at the courts, for example, because that's upsetting the way our justice system works. It is not constitutional. It's not how that's supposed to go. You see the ICE protests out that are going on right now, and 7 people were arrested out at the ICE headquarters in Aurora yesterday. So it is going to just get hotter, and it will divide people much more. But I think we do know who's on Trump's train.